David was dysfunctional. David did not have one man that was together. Everybody was messed up. But God sent them because David had the ability to get them straight. Every man that came, every man that united himself. You know, I've heard people say, well, if all the guys are messed up, fine. Somebody said to me, well, you don't have one mature man in this house. I said, fine, I must be like David. Every brother have a problem. Wonderful. You see, the issue was not the men under dysfunction. The issue was the ability of the leader. The thing that will make these men great was not their potential, but the leader that they're submitted to. Stay with me. Everyone who came to David, they came to him because they wanted to get away from something. All of them were running. Everyone had a problem. The Bible says that everyone was in distress. The first thing, distress. And the Hebrew word there means to be narrow, or to be in a narrow place, or to be in a straight place. It means confinement. It sounds like jail, doesn't it? It means to be disabled, crippled in some way. It means to be in anguish, sad. So every man that came to David felt shut out. He felt like an outsider. He could not cope. He was in a straight place. He was in anguish. He was in a shut out situation. He didn't have room to exercise himself or to do the things that he could do. His potentialities were frustrated in him. Then notice, he had a bunch of frustrated men. Men that were shut up. It sounds like most of our brothers in prison, doesn't it? Every man that comes, what an adequate description of black men, was in distress, shut out. The second thing, everyone was in debt. Another word in debt means imposition. It means lend on interest. It means that somebody loaned you something at an exorbitant interest. It means to be done, or somebody dunning you for the money. It means exactor, somebody exacting it or demanding it. The giver of the usury, someone loan you the money at an enormous interest rate. Doesn't that sound like American black people? Some banks say that they lend us money, but they lend it to us at a higher interest than they lend people in another zip code. Are you with me? They say that they will refinance your house in Bed-Stuy, but the interest sometimes is as much as 16%. Oh, come. One of the worst things that could happen to anyone during the time of David or in ancient times was to be in debt. Whenever you had to borrow money from anyone or borrow anything, the rate of usury, it was so high that it was almost virtually impossible to pay. And if you couldn't pay it, you will wind up in slavery. If you couldn't pay your bill in ancient times, they come and take you and make you work it off. And not only would they take you, but they'll take your wife and your children, and all of you will go into slavery, and they will also take your land. Of course, the debt is to be walked off by the year of the Jubilee. But if you couldn't pay it, you would go into slavery. So some of these guys were behind in their bills. So everyone that came was in a strait. They couldn't move around. They couldn't exercise themselves. Note the second thing. Everybody was bankrupt. Everybody that came to him was broke. Nobody had any money. They were all bankrupt. Now this is something to take note of. Hanging out with folk who are broke. Have you ever had to hang out with broke folk? The most miserable existence. Frustrated, broke. Note the third group. And everyone that was discontented. And the Hebrew word there is a word mara. And that word mara means bitter. So everyone that was bitter. It is the word also for anger. Everyone that was angry. Sometimes it is translated as chafed. If you have a baby and a baby is chafed, you know what a baby who is suffering from chafe, what the baby does? Irritable, cry, complain, just irritable. So are you getting the picture? So everyone that was bitter, everyone that was angry, everybody that was chafed, irritable, and great heaviness, disappointment, vexation. Are you getting the message? Everybody that came to David was uptight. Everybody was broke. Everybody had a chip on their shoulders. They felt shut out. Everyone that God sent to him was messed up. And incidentally, they were all men. Sounds like a description of black men. Shut out. They won't let you in. Invent something and nobody will patent it or finance it. Come on, come on, come on. Have an idea. And you share it with somebody and they take the idea and turn it around and steal it from you. Come, 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 come. It has happened to black people over and over. This is exactly what was going on in Saul's kingdom. Are you still with me? Get money, work hard, and somebody cheat you out of it. Like we have a couple brothers in this church that cheat people out of their money. And we need to talk about it. And then we get uptight, well, the brothers in the church are supposed to be saved. Not necessarily so. You go into business with some of these brothers and they cheat you. Pay them, bought things from them, and they don't deliver. Come, you know I'm telling the truth. Some people tried to buy a house with one of them and gave them his money, and he has all kinds of story one after the other. He lies and cheats and steals, and it's true. And there is no need of us biting our tongues and playing around. If a thing is wrong, we ought to say that it's wrong. And when you're a Christian and you do wrong, you shouldn't expect people to shut up to protect you. You're wrong. You did wrong. You cheated people. You took from people. You did what was not right. And as long as we stay silent, you'll continue to do it. We need to speak the truth. Oh, I'm going to do some things. There are some things I'm going to do, whether you like it or not, whether I'm popular or not. Right must be done. If you take my money and you tell me you're going to do something, you should do it or give me my money back. And if you don't give me my money back, you stole. You are a liar. You are a cheat. You are not right. Oh, come on. Now you may be uptight because you are the one that took it from people. How do you think the people feel that you took it from? But I want you to note all of these men had possibilities. They all had possibilities, but I'm sure that David didn't rub them down and tell them, you're all right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you lie, you lie. If what you did is wrong, it's wrong. And somebody must say that it's wrong. If it's not said and you're not confronted, you'll continue to do it. Some of us have a long history of doing the wrong thing. And we continue to do it because nobody ever had the guts to stand up and look you in your eyes and tell you that's wrong and you shouldn't do it. It should be stopped. White people in America do what they do to black people because we don't have the guts to stand up and look them in their eyes and say, that's wrong. And many of us as Christians won't stand up to other people and say, that's wrong. We think that in order to do that, that we are rocking the boat. Well, the boat needs to be rocked. Justice, he was dwelling in the cave of Abdullah, the cave of justice. Remember I told you, justice demands that the truth be spoken, and justice demands that restitution be done. If you took what's mine, you must restore it. And don't tell me that I must understand and how uncomfortable you are. Well, don't you think I'm uncomfortable too? I mean, there have been people that borrow your money and don't pay it back. It's unjust. We're talking about being in debt. And there are people that take your belonging and don't return it. And then when you speak, they feel bad and they cry. So you cry, I'm crying too. I'm out of it. If I give you $10,000, $20,000 of my money and you mess it up and I talk about it and you feel bad, so why should I feel bad with you? I mean, I'm feeling bad. I've lost my money. All you're doing is crying some crocodile tears. But it's wrong. It's wrong. These were not the men that David recruited. I want you to get the picture. These are the men that God pulled to him. Understand what I'm saying. The guys that God pulled to him were guys that were messed up. We think that the people that God pulled into the church, they have it together. They are not. I want you to get the picture. And we cannot say that what they're doing is right. But we must also agree that God pulled them in. David did not invite these men. They came to him. Something pulled them to him. And I hear God saying, I'm joining people to you, but you must clean them. You must teach them. You must rebuke them. You must challenge them. You must get them to adhere to my law. And the way you do that is by telling the truth. Some people will have you not preach the truth because the truth offends them. Whether it offends you or not, the truth must be spoken. And the only reason you're offended is because you're on the wrong side of it. If you were on the right side of it, you would shout amen. And if we fail to proclaim the truth because of your sensitivity, evil will reign. And we give license to wrong. Come on here. Every man that was in debt, every man that was shut out, and every man that was chafed, every man that was angry, every man that was bitter. Can you imagine what David's camp looked like? Everybody in there is bitter. You talk about anger. Walk through Bed-Stuy, you see anger. You talk about anger. Speak to some of the men in here, and you hear anger. You wonder why some people respond the way they do. It's because they're angry. Some men can't even live properly with their wife. They're angry. We have anger inside. Anger because of what we feel. Anger because of frustration. Anger because of some of the things that the system have imposed upon us. Bill Washington earlier was talking about something is wrong with the system. There are more white people driving than black people. Go down to the traffic court and you see more black people than whites. And there are more white people in New York than black people. Go down to the courts and you see more black people than white. You mean black people are breaking the law more than whites? No. It means that they are giving more black people tickets than they're giving white people. That's what it means. It means that in the black neighborhood, they do more than they do in the white neighborhood. You don't believe me? Drive down Lee Avenue. It says no parking from 4 to 6. And you come down there anytime and they not only park, but they are double parked, and they don't issue them a ticket. Not one. But come in this neighborhood, there is something wrong with the system. A white boy can do 3 times what a black boy does, and they send him home with his parents. But a black boy, they lock him up. Or they give him bail that he can't make. And a white boy, they release him under recognizance of his parents. Come on, you know I'm telling the truth. Come on, don't lie, don't, come on, come. So we have a certain level of anger in men. Most black men don't know how to be a father. You're too angry. You don't even have patience with your children. And God helps the woman. Granted that sometimes the woman get on your last nerve, but even so, as a man, one of the things that a man ought to learn to do is to lead his family. And nobody ever took time out to teach you how to be a man. Yet everybody expects you to be a man. And God knows nobody ever taught you how to be a husband. And you don't have the remotest idea of what it means to be a father. Before a man can be a husband, a man, a husband, or a father, somebody has to teach him. Teach him what it means to be a man. It's amazing that nobody ever taught me how to be a man, yet everybody expects me to know how to be a man. A woman will tell you, well, you are not a man. If you were a man, fine. If I were a man, who taught me? Who ever sat me down and told me what a man does and how a man should do it? Nobody ever does. Nobody did. Yet everybody expects you to know how. But the text seems to suggest that even if you're grown and you're messed up, if God by his Spirit will link you up with a leader, and if you follow the leader, that leader will help you to become all that you can be. The picture that we have here is that every man was messed up. Note the second verse. And David became captain over them. Just imagine becoming, the word captain means general or leader. David became the general or the leader over 400 messed up guys. In the 23rd chapter and the 13th verse, we're told that they grew to 600. David had 600 men, and everybody is messed up. Sounds like Rikers Island, doesn't it? Bill Washington, it sounds like Manhattan Bowery. Everybody messed up. Nobody is right. Everybody's head turned around. Even the people who are supposed to be the counselor, they messed up too.